record tonight.
For length?
For length, yes.
I'm going to stall because I hold the record.
Mr. Weigel, are you there?
Yep.
Welcome.
No, this is Chad. I'm on also.
Oh, sure, forgot you. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate your being here.
Pete Roth is here too.
Hey, you're late.
Sorry.
Regular meeting of the Clear Lake City Council of Monday, May 18th, 2020 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, before I ask for approval of the agenda, we have Councilman Hugie on our conference phone. Councilman Ebling is absent tonight. To my left, we have City Clerk Jennifer Larson. To my right, we have City Councilman Dana Brandt. Down in front of the dais, to my right, we have Councilman Bennett Smith. And in front of the dais, to my left, we have Councilman Mike Callanan. Also on the conference phone, we have Public Works Director Joe Weigel. We have Chief of Police Pete Roth. We have President, CEO of the North Iowa Corridor, Chad. And we have President, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, Stacy Dawn. Did I miss anyone? And in the audience, we also have City Attorney John Sorensen and City Administrator Scott Flory. And now I'll ask for approval of the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mike, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of May 4th, 2020. We need approval of bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. We have the following licenses and permits. Liquor license, Class C, beer permit, BC, Class B, native wine permit, Louis Custom Meats, Class E, liquor license, LE, Class C, beer permit, Class B, wine permit with Sunday sales, Come and Go number 301 and Come and Go number 302. Those are all renewals. Cigarette permit, Pilot Travel Center number 407, Fairway Store number 705. Those are renewals. Excavator license, Navratil Excavating, Mason City, that's a renewal. And tree trimmers license, Malix Lawn and Tree Service, Garner, that's a renewal. Motion, please. I'm sorry. We have also the addition of a peddler's permit with Kona Ice of North Central Iowa from Webster City. That's new. And now I'll ask for a motion, please, with regard to consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion carries. And now, new business. A, 2020 City Budget Amendment Number 2. Review, Mr. Flory. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The pink sheet in your packet addresses this item. It's a resolution that approves Budget Amendment Number 2 for the City of Clear Lake fiscal year 2020 budget. If you recall from budget preparation for fiscal year '21, we go through kind of a concurrent process with the fiscal year '21 budget, whereby we amend the fiscal year that we're currently in, which of course fiscal year '20, amend that budget in conjunction with the preparation of the fiscal year '21 budget. So this is actually the second budget amendment for fiscal year '20. So again, we kind of talked about this at the last council meeting, and we set the date for the public hearing on the proposal to have the budget amendment number 2 on the docket for this evening. The notice in the packet was published in the Mirror Reporter, and that was done on, I believe that was the 6th of this month. That's a not less than 10 or more than 20-day notice, so meeting the publication requirements there. On the back side of that sheet, we have the explanation for it's about $1 million budget amendment for budget amendment number 2. As we talked at the last meeting, one of the more significant items is the communication system upgrade. Of course, that was something that we had in our fiscal year '21 budget. We're just able to act a little bit quicker, and given kind of the uncertainty of our vendor situation and some of these, we got an opportunity to move on that a little bit quicker and get that equipment to us sooner. So we've decided to include that in the fiscal year '20 budget amendment number 2. So that was, again, a sizable item there at $356,000. Also, we have the community economic development items. Most significantly there was the Hotel Convention Center project. So again, we have the agreement, the memorandum of understanding with JSM Investments on that. So basically that $225,000 would provide for, again, if the project begins prior to June 15th, there would be an incentive of $150,000 there, plus there's a $50,000 reimbursement, partial reimbursement for the application fee that was made to Marriott Corporation. Of course, that was more than $50,000. That was actually $75,000, but we're only partially reimbursing for that. So that was $200,000 of that $225,000, and then the other $25,000 is just miscellaneous engineering, legal, and administrative costs that go along with that. Then the $110,000, of course, is part of the grant agreement that we had with the Economic Development Corporation for the small business recovery program that we put together with them. Also, continuing down the plexiglass that we installed out front at City Hall in anticipation of the opening, which, by the way, we're going to be open, the office back up again starting tomorrow, so 8 o'clock, 8:30, I think, is when we're opening the office and continuing to welcome people back in. So the next project's down East Main Phase 2. You'll see in the capital projects as well as the enterprise fund, so it's about $288,000 that we're showing. That, you know, we've been in contact with the contractor on that project, who of course is Wix Construction, so we would anticipate that it is foreseeable that they would start on that project prior to June 30th of this year, so it's likely that they would have some work done. And of course, this is that segment from 14th to 20th on Main Avenue, so again, just preparing for the likelihood that they would be able to start on that and how much work that they might be able to get done in that 3 weeks or so prior to the end of the fiscal year. So, and again, that's it. Those total about $1 million. Again, the budget amendment itself does not have any impact on the overall tax rate itself. The budget amendment revises the fiscal year '20 budget to reflect $18,702,878 in revenues and $16,264,954 in expenditures. And again, we talked at the last meeting, we have to have, if we do have a second budget amendment, that has to be done prior to May 31st. So that's kind of the timing that we're in here. So why we typically have that. As I mentioned, I would anticipate that if not all, I would say 90% or higher of communities in Iowa are probably doing a second budget amendment. I was watching a neighboring community, and they're having a $7 million second budget amendment. So, at $1 million, again, that's not unrealistic to have a budget amendment of this size here. So, I guess I don't have anything further prior to the public hearing. I did not receive any written communication regarding the budget amendment, unless anybody has any questions on that.
Just one quick one here. Many of these projects we talk about and we plan for and we get started with months and months and months ago. Just give an overall of what we're doing with the communication system. If I'm not mistaken, it's kind of an across-the-board thing with the dispatching and the fire and the police, and it's a much-needed upgrade.
That's exactly right. I have to defer to Chief Roth for a more detailed explanation than that, but you've pretty well summarized it there. Just, again, definitely an overdue modernization and upgrade to the dispatch communication system, make it more compatible with the other area law enforcement agencies, as well as fire and EMS and those kinds of things. So I don't know, Chief, do you want to add any further to that?
No, I think you said it perfectly. Just, we've been working on this project for about 5 years, and the incentives were right. We're about the only department left that hasn't, besides Public Works, that needs to do the upgrade with our portables and then our dispatch system. We also had some favorable fiber come in through the ICN network that was free to us. The state paid for that, which also helped us kind of push this along a little bit quicker and faster and cheaper. And so really very excited about the opportunity to get this going and finalize this project, get it off our strategic plan that we've been doing for about 5 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Thank you, Scott. Now is the time and place for the public hearing with regard to the 2020 city budget amendment number 2. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address this particular 2020 city budget amendment number 2? Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter the minutes. Not a discussion time, nor a question and answer time, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. Not appearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing with regard to the 2020 city budget amendment 2.
So offered. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Bennett. That moved by Mike, seconded by Bennett, that we close the public hearing with regard to the 2020 city budget amendment number 2. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries 4-0. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2037. This is a resolution approving fiscal year 20 budget amendment number 2. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dennett, moved by Dana, seconded by Bennett, that we approve Resolution 2037. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, and Resolution 2037 is duly adopted. 5B, 4th Avenue South and South 3rd Street Improvement Project. Intro, Mr. Floor.
Thanks, Mayor. I just had a couple just quick comments on this. Then Mr. Petersburg with Feenstra and Kim is going to review the project update and the pay estimate with you. But I just wanted to point out, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go down there and take a look at it, but I think the improvements have turned out really well. They were long overdue. Actually, I give credit to Mike Callahan on this one. He was kind of on this one for a while, and so I think it's turned out really fantastic. That was kind of some of the last piece of the downtown area. If you recall, budget time, we wanted to focus on this, and so South 3rd Street, that segment going up into downtown, and then 4th Avenue South here between 8th Street and South Shore Drive. I think it really turned out great. We had an opportunity to work with some local property owners there to pave a portion of the right-of-way. It's going to provide for some off-street parking for some tenants that they have. They're paying for that portion of the project. The city's not paying for that portion, but I took a look at it again this weekend. I just think it turned out really, really good. So I think Mike did a really great job kind of pushing this one through. I think it turned out really well for downtown. So.
Council, any questions? Thank you. Project update and review of pay estimate number 1, Mr. Petersburg, Meester, and Kim. Jason, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Heartland Asphalt started work on this project the 20th of April. They started with the concrete curb and gutter repairs and the ADA sidewalk ramps. They completed all of their pre-asphalt overlay concrete May 4th. The following week, they completed the patching work in Four Winds, the partial depth patching on 4th Avenue and South 3rd Street, as well as the asphalt interlayer. The temperatures cooled off then, so they waited till last Friday. Then they completed the surface course on 4th Avenue and South 3rd Street. Today they started on the fixture adjustments to raise the sanitary and storm sewer manholes. They plan to complete that tomorrow, and at that time the project will be substantially complete. Pay estimate 1 covers work completed up through May 8th, including the concrete work as well as the asphalt patching work. Net amount due to Heartland Asphalt after subtracting the 5% retainage is $153,959.38. V&K recommends payment to Heartland Asphalt. Any questions?
Council, any questions for Jason?
Just one. Councilman Callahan, Jason, and you probably already know what I'm going to ask you about. Have the few defective sidewalk been inspected, and have the owners been notified?
Not yet, but I believe that is something that we were going to add to this project.
I believe so, and that's why I keep bringing things like this up. So anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 1 with regard to 4th Avenue South and South 3rd Street improvement project to Heartland Asphalt in the amount of $153,959.38.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve pay estimate number 1. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Chief of Police report, Chief Roth.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Really hate to be a broken record, but still sort of just status quo with just keeping up with all the COVID-19 changes and updates. We will, as City Hall will be opening tomorrow, we will be opening our lobby again at 8 o'clock, and we'll leave it open 24/7 from here on out unless something else changes. And really just kind of preparing to kind of resume some normal operations in the PD and looking forward to a good summer in Clear Lake at this point. And that's all I really have at this time.
Okay. Council, any questions for Chief? Thanks, Chief. Under Mayor's report, Stacy, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor Crabb and Councilman. My team has been working to continue to support area small businesses and just try to keep the community informed regarding any changes in operations when it comes to our restaurants and retailers. I have to say there's been a lot of positive feedback regarding the grant program that you funded, so I just personally want to thank you for providing those funds to support our area small businesses during this difficult time. As you can imagine, the main topic of interest for the chamber right now is in regards to events. So as of today, the start of Thursdays on Main is officially delayed until at least June 18th. In the meantime, though, we are planning a fun online event that will be this Thursday, May 21st. We're calling it Thursdays Online. It will feature local artists. We even have a handful of seniors who will be doing performances, and that will all be live streamed from our Facebook page at 7 o'clock this Thursday. In regards to events beyond June 18th, we haven't made any formal decisions. We're meeting weekly with city officials, event committee members, and CG Public Health to assess the current state of affairs, and will communicate any changes on our Facebook page and through our media partners. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Council, any questions for Stacy? Thanks, Stacy. North Iowa Corridor CEO and President, Chad, you have anything?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, Council. Just to piggyback what Stacy noted, big thank you again for your support on the grant program. Just have had really positive feedback from those that we've been able to help. You know, it ended up being it was 34 businesses in Clear Lake, and just shy of $130,000 that we've been able to support Clear Lake businesses with. So just really, really appreciate you guys, and also the Hanson Foundation, MBT Bank, for their contribution of $15,000, and Carrie Tisdall with American Solutions for Business. She raised $3,500 through T-shirt sales. So really, really appreciate all of those and everyone's assistance in that, and Scott and the mayor and all of you on the council. I greatly appreciate your efforts in that and your support in that. We continue to coordinate with partners at the chambers and visitor centers and each of the other community and economic development partners to get the resources and assistance out there to our businesses. So again, appreciate all of those guys and their efforts and what the team at the chamber is doing. And it's been a unique time, but everyone's pulling together, and really proud of what everyone's accomplished. And then just final note, our annual meeting is going to be June 11th at 11 a.m. to 12 noon, and it's going to be virtual this year. So we'll be getting some invites out this week to you all and to our investors and partners for that. It's going to be a new thing for us, but it's the new world we live in. So we'll be doing that, and I'll get you all the details soon.
Thanks, Chad. Council, any questions? I think both Chad and Stacy, you know, with Scott and I in attendance, great leadership from both of you, and it was a great team effort with regard to working with all the folks in that recovery grant. Really fantastic when you come right down to it. So thank you both very much for that leadership from not only you, but your staffs as well. Impressive. The high school graduates, I believe it was this Friday night, had their probably first ever lap around the lake, led by Captain Colby, and I believe in charge of traffic on that route was Chief Roth, and they went from, I believe, the high school around the lake clockwise and ended up at Lions Field. And they happened to go by our street. There were quite a few people out there, and I'm sure downtown there were many more. But what a tribute to those senior graduates who really kind of got robbed of their graduation, of their prom, with regard to this COVID-19. But great reception for them on that tour around the lake, and we're just pleased to see this community rise up for those young people during this time. So congratulations, graduates. We wish you all well. Just to note that today is National Armed Forces Day, and many thanks to all those members who serve in our armed forces. I just want you all to be aware that we're still in the midst of COVID-19. Please follow what you yourself personally need to do to feel and be safe. In this town, I believe we may have had only, at this point, only 2 or 3 who have actually been positive with the coronavirus. And we hope that's all. We cannot be sure of that, We don't know. It's a very almost secretive type of virus that's floating around the world. And we must all be very, very careful that we guard against contracting that ourselves. So please, please be safe out there. Move on to Public Works Directors report. Mr. Weigel?
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Just an update on the US 18 Highway 18 project. Spoke with the construction inspector from the DOT today. They're progressing. They got pavement for yet on that off-ramp, southbound ramp. They're going one step backwards. They poured some of that the wrong elevation, so they're going to be tearing a portion of that out tomorrow and re-pouring that. I believe they have 3 pours left, so hopefully they can still finish the pavement portion this week. The 4 signal bases that are remaining, the contractor is in town setting up today. They plan on drilling hopefully 2 of them tomorrow and then 2 the next day and get them poured. And then they'll have to wait roughly 7 days for cure time before they can actually set the poles and the arms. So if everything goes well, once that's done, they can get the poles and arms and the rest of the wiring and wiring work done. We're probably looking at the second week of June, hopefully, for things to be totally in operation. They got some pavement markings, permanent pavement markings to do yet too, once that's all done. So hopefully by mid-June, that contract will be completed. And then also to let you know that our centerline pavement marking contractor is scheduled to be in town tomorrow morning. If not tomorrow, it'll be Wednesday at the latest. And that roughly takes them a day to get our centerline pavement markings done. That's all, Your Honor.
Council, any questions, Mr. Weigel? Thank you, Joe. Mr. Flory?
Again, that we're going to have our office open tomorrow. We're also looking at continuing to look at the aquatic center. Is an issue for us, continuing to kind of think through that, the logistics of that. Obviously, the governor's proclamation prohibits splash pads, aquatic centers, those kinds of things from being open through the 27th. So, we're in a difficult scenario there. Obviously, staffing becomes a critical thing for us there. We don't know what's going to happen come the 28th, whether or not that that proclamation would be extended or not, or and again, keeping the lifeguards that are interested in working for us in the active file. Obviously they want to be lifeguards and have a job for the summer, and if we're not going to be able to open a pool, then we don't have anything for them to do. So, we're in a bit of a difficult spot. Even if the governor's order, the proclamation would be lifted after the 27th, 28th, and we would be looking at mid-June at the earliest before we could even open an aquatic center. Obviously, we know that the governor has also indicated that schools are going to be able to open sooner. That used to be they were restricted on when the start date could be for school, so that has changed. So it's possible, I do not know this and have had no discussions, but just hypothesizing, it's possible that schools could start early, which obviously our lifeguard staff is comprised of school people. So they would probably be only having a job maybe through July at the most. So we probably would not likely have much more than maybe a 6-week swim season, depending if we can kind of speculate based on what other parameters have been imposed on other businesses, what restrictions we might have to deal with in terms of enhanced cleaning and those kinds of things, capacity limitations, and that. Our pool has a capacity of about 300 people, so if we were to say maybe we'd be looking at a 50% capacity restriction, we'd be down to about 150 people. And then if you have to, obviously, for good reason, practice social distancing of the 6 feet, with our limited space, that 150 is probably further reduced down to about 75, you know. So I think I saw a thing like on one of the restaurants, they said, you know, our 50%, by the time you factor in the social distancing, we're like 37% is what our normal, what we're at versus the normal operating capacity. So, you know, we have to take a look at the cost of, you know, operating that, the amenities that we have at the pool. They would have to go through religious type cleaning every time, very strict on every time they're used, the diving boards and the, again, the amenities, the spray features, those kinds of things. So very unlikely that those would be able to be utilized. Cleaning supplies, very short order. So, you know, it certainly doesn't look good, but we're holding off for a little while longer before we make a formal decision on whether or not we'll open up the pool. Again, just kind of wait and see what the governor's next steps are regarding her proclamation. But, you know, we're in a, like I say, in kind of a tough scenario there where we, in deference to the people that want to work for us, sooner rather than later, we need to make a decision regarding when we're going to open or not open so that they can move on with their other summer employment opportunities, be them as they may. So again, I think some of these things, you know, we clearly, our preference would be that we were able to have a normal pool season, but that isn't the case. You know, I mean, so I think it's not with, not that we take these things lightly. This is clearly not anything that the park director, the park advisory board, you all, myself, want to be closing the pool, but we may be in a situation where we just simply don't have any options, you know. So along those lines, City Beach, we've ordered some social distancing signs that'll be going up here soon, and again, they just encourage people to practice the social distancing down at City Beach. That's been popular lately. We anticipate its popularity will increase, and we hope people will respect and abide by the social distancing recommendations that come from the Department of Public Health and CDC. So, you know, it's our hope that they follow those, but if users don't, you know, we could be facing a situation there where we may have to close that. You know, we don't want to do that, but we can't have the Department of Public Health down there all the time. If we get 6 phone calls a day or whatever for people saying, hey, look, nobody's following social distancing, you know, we can't keep running police officers back and forth down there to be the social distancing police. They've got other things to do as well. So we hope that people will respect that and abide by that and have a good as possible City Beach season down there, but just wanted to bring you up to speed on the aquatic center. I think, you know, you're well aware, obviously, Mason City has made the decision not to open their pool. You know, I know other communities are deliberating that as well, so it's not a spot we had hoped to be in, but it's one we find ourselves in. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
You know, it's one thing to close these areas and places, but it's another thing that we don't know yet are the restrictions that may be placed on these places and areas that we're not aware of yet. And once the governor comes out with that, then those perhaps will add to the decisions that we have to make. It's not just opening up and say, here you go, but there'll be restrictions, as there have been recently with some of these other things. So, you know, interesting time, to be sure. Council, any further questions, Mr. Ford?
Yeah, just real quick, Scott, can we assume that the same criteria that we're using for both the pool and City Beach would be applied to the new splash pad when that comes online here this summer?
I believe so. And again, that's going to be another one that's going to be very difficult to enforce social distancing. Not sure how we'll do that. I mean, obviously, we're going to have an incredible community asset there, the restroom facility as well. We'd like to be able to use it, and we'd like the community to be able to enjoy it. But again, we'll probably put some signs up there encouraging the social distancing, and hopefully people will abide by those, or we're not going to have much choice but to take those things out of operation.
And as the mayor said, it may not, we'll just have to wait and see.
Mhm.
what
Yeah,
other-
I don't think social distancing is going to be going anywhere anytime too soon. I think we'll have that for the foreseeable future.
Sure, thank you.
Council, any further questions from Mr. Flory? Thank you, Scott. Council, any other business this evening? Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.